5-year-old boy explains how souls choose who they appear to after death. On a silent night, one of those nights when the air seems to hold an ancient secret, a question arose that transcends generations. Why do some people feel the presence of those who have passed away, while others never perceive anything? It was an unsettling question, one of those that makes the heart race even before the thought is fully formed. In the midst of this questioning, a 5-year-old boy with a firm and tranquil gaze, as if he carried memories that didn't belong to his age, said something that left everyone around him speechless. He commented that souls don't choose at random, and that there is a profound reason for deciding to whom they reveal themselves after death. The boy spoke with a naturalness that only someone deeply connected to the invisible could possess. He said he could still hear things that adults no longer hear, and feel presences that most have learned to ignore. For him, the spiritual world was not distant. It was a familiar place, as if the boundaries between there and here were still open within him. And by stating that souls seek those who can see with their hearts, he left the impression that there was a greater knowledge, hidden in the subtext of a truth that only such a pure mind could grasp. The question of why some people feel the presence of those who have passed away, while others never perceive anything at all, is more frequent than one might imagine. This phenomenon stems from emotional, social, and spiritual factors that accompany human beings from an early age. Most grow up hearing that the invisible should not be taken seriously, that it is merely a product of the imagination or fear. This attitude hardens the emotional field and creates a silent barrier between the person and the spiritual world. Many spirituality experts claim that about 70% of people lose, before adolescence, the natural sensitivity they had to perceive subtle movements in the energy field. Furthermore, there is an emotional buildup typical of adult life that also obscures this perception. The rush, the anxiety, the responsibilities, and the excess of stimuli cause human beings to disconnect from their deepest layers. Over time, intuition, which was once spontaneous, becomes stifled by worries. And it is at this point that the 5-year-old boy becomes an essential figure in understanding the process. He shows what everyone once had, but let slip away. His sensitivity serves as a reminder that in childhood, the veil between planes is still thin, allowing the child's gaze to reach details that the adult no longer perceives. The boy often says that souls speak softly, and that this whisper can only be heard by those who haven't forgotten what it's like to feel without needing to understand. It is this simplicity that makes his perspective so revealing. When he describes feeling a shiver and knowing that someone of light has arrived, he is pointing to the intuitive connection that everyone possessed before distancing themselves from their own essence. While the adult tries to rationalize or deny, the child simply embraces what they feel. That's why he affirms that it's not that souls choose few people, it's that people stop listening. There are also deeper spiritual factors. Many traditions speak of an energy veil that thickens as a person grows, laden with memories, beliefs, and old pains. This veil makes it difficult to perceive signs from those who have passed away. That is why moments of grief, longing, profound silence, or abrupt life changes can temporarily reopen this sensitivity. It is as if the subtle field becomes more permeable, allowing loving presences to draw closer. And according to the boy, when someone feels this, they are not imagining, they are remembering. When he observes an adult saying they have never seen or felt anything, he simply smiles, as if he understands the reason. He explains that souls seek out those who have a small opening in their hearts, and that this openness doesn't depend on age, religion, or belief, but on inner availability. He describes how some people shine more intensely on the spiritual plane when they are in pain, longing, or vulnerable, because their hearts become more transparent. In everyday life, this phenomenon appears in small signs that many ignore. A familiar smell, a fleeting feeling of presence, a sudden memory that arises out of nowhere, a dream that seems more real than it should. These are subtle expressions that the other plane is still trying to communicate. And the boy, because he is still very close to spiritual purity, manages to translate something that becomes confusing for adults. He comments, "I see because I still remember. You only don't see because you've forgotten." And although this phrase seems simple, it summarizes all the spiritual complexity surrounding the subject. If this topic resonates with you, join our community and subscribe to our channel. Here we discuss spiritual health and physical well-being in a clear, truthful way, offering tips that truly make a difference. According to ancient spiritual traditions, the difficulty in perceiving the presence of someone who has passed away is not merely an emotional or psychological issue, but a phenomenon deeply connected to the subtle field that each soul carries throughout its existence. Souls that leave the physical plane continue to vibrate at frequencies shaped by past experiences, old bonds, karmic memories, and emotions that have not been fully resolved. Everything that remains trapped, pains, interrupted loves, unfinished farewells, creates a kind of vibrational density that interferes with how it approaches the living. This is not a negative weight, but an energetic memory that accompanies the soul until it is fully understood. Many of these energies, accumulated across different reincarnations, cause the soul to seek, after death, specific people with whom it still maintains some vibrational link. Sometimes this link originates from past lives, other times from intense feelings left unresolved in the current existence. And when it tries to manifest, it does not do so by chance. It seeks hearts that can receive this presence, even if they are not consciously aware of it. Where there is openness, there is passage. Where there is sensitivity, there is connection. This is where the 5-year-old boy becomes essential to understanding this process. He observes the spiritual world as one observes something natural, effortlessly, and without fear. He says he can feel when a soul carries memories of other lives because the air changes a little and the vibration approaches like a gentle breath. He explains that some souls cannot appear to everyone because they are trapped in these old ties that need to be finalized, and they can only approach those who have a vibration most similar to their own. With his characteristic purity, he comments that souls don't come to frighten, they come because they need to be felt. For him, this movement is as clear as hearing a distant call. He recounts that sometimes he perceives a feeling of warmth near his shoulder, a light sigh, or a light that seems to want to touch someone. And when this happens, he understands that there is a soul trying to get closer to someone they loved deeply, but who may already be spiritually distant because of fears, accumulated pain, or disbelief. The boy states that many adults create blockages without realizing it. He describes these blockages as layers that form around the spiritual field, made of resentments, harsh words, frustrations, and everything that weighs emotionally. These layers stifle sensitivity and prevent the spiritual presence from being recognized. When you grow up, you become full of things that don't need to be there, he says simply, and then souls come close, but you don't feel them. He also explains that some souls carry such deep bonds that they can only manifest for one specific person. These bonds can come from past lives, when two souls walked together or became separated. They can come from family ties, promises made, or unfulfilled loves. When a soul carries this kind of connection, it seeks that specific heart, even if that heart is closed to the invisible. And the boy perceives this instantly. He says that the soul goes as far as its feeling remains alive, as if drawn by a thread that no one else sees. But there's another aspect. Some souls don't approach certain people because they know it would cause fear, rejection, or confusion. The soul, newly freed from the body, doesn't wish to cause suffering. It seeks acceptance, recognition, or simply a peaceful way of saying it's okay. So it chooses those who are most spiritually prepared, And this preparation isn't linked to knowledge, religion, or age, but to emotional vibration. The boy explains that souls seek out those with the quietest hearts inside, because only in that inner silence can they be perceived. He describes how, when a soul tries to reveal itself to someone and fails, it retreats and attempts to send more subtle signals, vivid dreams, sudden memories, delicate sounds, slight pressures in the environment, unexpected changes in energy. He says that few people notice these signals because they are disconnected from their own sensitivity, but that even so, the soul continues trying until it feels understood. And it is at this point that the boy reveals the essence of the problem. Most people have lost the ability to feel what cannot be measured. He says that when you were born, you saw everything. When you grew up, you learned to close your eyes. This is why so many souls try to manifest themselves, but only manage to appear to some people, because only a few still possess within themselves the connection with what is subtle. Over time, when someone doesn't understand why they never feel the presence of the one they love, a silent space is created within their heart. This space gradually begins to fill with doubt, sadness, and the feeling that something is missing. Many people carry a kind of discreet emptiness that appears at the most unexpected moments. When opening an old drawer, when smelling a familiar perfume on the street, when seeing an old photograph that triggers a thought too quickly to be explained. Even without realizing it, this emptiness shapes how the person copes with longing. The 5-year-old boy observes this with a gaze that blends compassion and understanding. He notices when someone tries to remember a loved one, but the memory comes mixed with a feeling of distance. He says that when you don't feel it, it hurts in a way that you pretend doesn't hurt. And this pain isn't just emotional, it reverberates in the spiritual realm, creating a kind of inner hardening that further distances any attempt at connection with the other plane. It's as if the person, unintentionally, isolates themselves within themselves. This disconnection begins to affect daily life in almost invisible ways. The person starts to ignore small signs, believing they are coincidences. They stop noticing changes in the environment, gentle shivers, dreams that seem like visits, intuitions that arise like a whisper. And the more they try to convince themselves that it was nothing, the more their own spiritual field closes. The boy observes this deeply and says, "You are so busy trying not to feel that you forget that someone is trying to get close." He also perceives the spiritual consequences of this blockage. When a soul tries to approach and finds no space, it remains in a state of waiting. It is not suffering, but a suspension. A soul that only wishes to say, "I'm okay, I remember you, it's not all over," ends up trapped in a bond that is not completed. The boy senses when this happens. He says that there is a silence in the air that shouldn't exist. This silence echoes both on the physical and spiritual planes. In everyday life, this manifests itself in small actions. People who avoid talking about the departed, who change the subject when the name comes up, who hoard objects as if afraid to touch them, or who simply pretend nothing happened to avoid confronting their own hearts. All of this creates an emotional weight that accumulates. And when this process is not understood, this weight transforms into a kind of spiritual weariness, which steals lightness, hope, and even the ability to dream of something more beautiful. The boy, with his purity, tries to explain that the absence of perception does not mean the absence of love. He says that sometimes you think you're alone, but it's only because you closed the window without realizing it. And it is this internal confusion between wanting to feel and being afraid to feel that creates a silent urgency. An urgency to open up again, to allow intuition to return, to give space for what still needs to be felt, to finally find its way out. He observes that when this openness doesn't happen, the person lives with the feeling that they left something unfinished. And this affects the body, mind, and spirit. It affects sleep, which becomes restless. It affects energy, which seems trapped. It affects emotions, which oscillate between longing and denial. And all this because the natural connection between those who stayed and those who left was interrupted before it was complete. That's why he always repeats, with the sincerity that only a child possesses, they want to be remembered, not forgotten, and they want to be felt, not ignored. It's a call to look inward, to acknowledge this lack, and to realize that there is something greater trying to touch the soul of those who are still here. If this warning resonated with you, leave a comment. Tell us, have you or someone in your family ever experienced this? Your experience could help others too. When the moment finally arrives to explain how souls choose whom to reveal themselves to after death, the 5-year-old boy speaks with the naturalness of someone who observes the invisible as part of everyday life. He explains that this choice never happens by chance, as souls seek vibrations compatible with what they carry after passing. He says they approach where there is light, where there is love, where there is still a connecting thread. And this phrase seems to open a profound understanding of the spiritual process that occurs between the physical and subtle planes. For him, the apparition only manifests when there is a real resonance between the soul's energy field and the emotional state of the living person. He affirms that the soul perceives who is closest to its vibration, who still keeps their heart accessible, who holds feelings that transcend physical life, and who can welcome a spiritual presence without fear. The boy describes how the soul senses the vibrational affinity of those on earth, as if it could identify who carries emotions similar to its own. He explains that each soul carries its own energy, made up of lived experiences and the bonds left behind, and that this energy continues to act after death. This is one of the reasons why, according to him, a mother appears to a specific child, a grandfather shows himself only to a grandchild, or a friend visits only one person. This does not depend on the rational choice of the one who has passed, but on the intensity and permanence of the bond that united them in life. The boy affirms that when someone loved deeply, that light remains, and that the soul follows exactly that light. He also explains that the soul doesn't reveal itself to those who aren't prepared. Some people want to, but are closed off. Others don't even want to, but are open, he comments simply. This openness isn't related to belief or religion, but rather to the person's inner state. The soul perceives whether its presence will be welcomed or will awaken fear, and in those cases, it retreats to protect the living. He assures that the apparitions never have the purpose of frightening. On the contrary, they are gestures of care, farewell, peace, or continued affection. The soul chooses the gentlest and most respectful path possible, approaching only when it feels it will not cause suffering. Before revealing itself, the soul sends signals, which to the boy are as clear as light footsteps on the ground. He says that it almost always touches the person's subtle field first, provoking vivid dreams, sudden memories, music that arises in the mind without explanation, familiar smells that appear and disappear, quick sensations of warmth in the chest or shivers that run through the body like a silent call. It's like knocking on the door, he explains. If the person perceives this call, even intuitively, the soul understands that it can move towards a more direct presence. If it is repeatedly ignored, it waits. The boy describes the moment of the apparition with an impressive serenity. For him, it's a natural movement where the soul approaches slowly without making a sound and reveals itself just enough to transmit the vibration that it is well. He says that some souls appear to calm the hearts of those left behind, others to offer comfort, others to close a cycle that was not completed during life. There are also those who return only to alleviate old guilts, dissolve deep pains, or simply affirm that death did not break the bond that existed between them and those who still walk here. When a soul doesn't appear, the boy says it has nothing to do with a lack of love. He explains that sometimes the person is tired inside, emotionally overwhelmed, or spiritually weakened, and the soul senses this. It sees when you're going to get scared, and it doesn't want that, so it waits. This waiting is a form of protection. Therefore, he insists that the absence of appearance should never be interpreted as distance, abandonment, or spiritual indifference, but as care. The soul chooses to preserve. He also reveals why so many children can see what adults can't. He states that we haven't yet learned to doubt. The emotional purity of childhood makes the spiritual field open, light, and receptive. The soul perceives this openness and understands that it can be seen without fear or judgment. That's why, up to the age of 7, many children report presences, lights, soft voices, or subtle movements in their environment. For them, the apparition doesn't break the logic of the world. It's part of it. The boy speaks of this as if it was something common, saying that souls like it when we look at them without asking anything. In his view, everything boils down to a simple yet profound principle. The soul chooses through love. It chooses where there is harmony, where there is emotional truth, where there is continuity of the bond. He summarizes this understanding with a phrase that seems to transcend any rational explanation. They choose who can feel. And whoever can feel is the one who loves. If this content is truly helping you, please leave a like so that more people can also benefit from this information. This helps spread light, awareness, and spiritual evolution. When all explanation finally settles within human understanding, something silently transforms, almost imperceptibly at first, but real enough to provoke a profound change in how life is felt. The initial doubt, that unsettling question about why some people perceive presences and others don't, begins to lose its weight. Absence ceases to seem like abandonment, and longing is no longer interpreted as an impossible-to-fill void. Instead, the idea emerges that there is continuity, that the connection between those who stayed and those who left does not break, and that perhaps it was never correct to believe that everything ends abruptly. This perception opens space for an internal reconciliation between what the heart feels and what reason tries to deny. From this point on, life takes on a broader scope, as if the spiritual horizon suddenly expands. With this new understanding, daily life takes on a different kind of gentleness. Small signs previously ignored begin to awaken curiosity instead of bewilderment. People start to look at their own dreams more attentively, noticing when a memory emerges inexplicably vividly, or when a shiver appears for no apparent reason. None of this is interpreted as fantasy. On the contrary, it begins to be seen as a possibility. The idea that the soul chooses to whom to reveal itself ceases to be a frightening mystery and becomes a form of comfort, because it reveals that this connection always arises from love, affinity, and harmony. And this understanding removes the fear that many carried without admitting it, transforming it into an inner openness capable of restoring the sensitivity lost over time. In this process of rediscovering one's own spirituality, the symbolic presence of the 5-year-old boy emerges as a continuous reminder of the intuition that remains dormant within each person. He represents that pure, sincere, and receptive part that once existed in everyone. What he perceived was not a privilege, but a natural capacity that weakened as the world demanded strength, rationality, and survival. The memory of this boy acts as a portal to recover what has been forgotten, the ability to feel before understanding, to trust inner perception, to welcome subtle signs without transforming them into fear. Within this memory, the person finds the courage to reopen the door that has been closed for so long. The transformation that this understanding generates is not limited to the spiritual realm. It also touches emotional and physical life. When someone understands that the absence of someone doesn't mean lack of love, but protection, something very profound is reorganized. Guilt diminishes, anxiety loses strength, grief gains breathing room, and longing becomes lighter. The relationship with death ceases to be a violent rupture and begins to be seen as the continuation of a journey that doesn't fit solely within the body. This broader perspective brings serenity to the heart, stability to the mind, and more self-compassion. The person begins to walk differently, not because they know everything, but because they now know they are not alone. And when she finally accepts that there is a spiritual logic to how souls connect, she discovers that this logic excludes no one. The 5-year-old boy always repeated that everyone can feel, as long as they allow themselves to listen to what their heart already knows. This seemingly simple phrase begins to make sense when a person realizes that spiritual connection doesn't depend on extraordinary vision or rare abilities, but on the inner willingness to be present, open, and sensitive. That's how she begins to perceive subtle changes in her own life. More intuition, more peace, more emotional clarity, more acceptance of her own shadows. Spiritual openness becomes a possible and safe path, sustainable and true. At the end of this journey, what remains is the awareness that the invisible never ceased to touch the visible. What was lacking was simply the allowance to feel. And this understanding brings a silent promise of healing. The promise that no love is lost, that no bond is broken, that no presence disappears completely. Everything continues, everything transforms, everything finds a way to reach the right heart at the right time. The person realizes that life is not limited to the body and that there is something greater sustaining everything, including what the eyes cannot see. It is at this moment that the 5-year-old boy, even symbolically, reappears as a living reminder of the purity that should never have been abandoned. He represents the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the reminder that every human being once had a gaze capable of perceiving what they now try to understand. And by recognizing it within themselves, the person recovers not only a spiritual ability, but an essential part of their own soul. If you've made it this far, it's because this touched something deep within you. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next videos will continue this journey with you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.